What's going on, crime fighters? I am Knight,
And I'm Logan.
and welcome back to the Film Cave, your one-stop shop to all things entertainment.
With a little bit extra from us, and this week might be a little light in that sense, but we'll get through it.
A little bit, but hey, shit happens. What can
Yes,
you
it
do?
does. Yes, it does.
So let's get into it. So, yeah, hasn't been a very eventful,
Sure.
if you want to call it a week. We had the holiday, news was slow, and it's just been nothing's really dropped. But we did have a major movie that did get dropped on us that has the world kind of don't want to say mixed. I guess we'll say mixed.
Mixed is a good answer, but I'm definitely seeing more negative than positive.
Yeah, I tried to be nice.
Yeah.
I did. But so for those of you who haven't seen it by now or heard, I'm pretty sure you have. If not, come back and watch this video because we are going heavy spoiling into Wonder Woman 84.
Yes, sir.
I have some thoughts. I'm sure I have a lot of thoughts. I'm sure you have some thoughts.
Definitely have some thoughts.
So I felt like this was an appropriate time. And since news is slow, we're going to dedicate this show to the woman herself.
Yes.
And hopefully, see where we're at by the end of it.
Sure.
I did a, review of this already, but this is the time to get more heavily and detailed in it. Now that I'm here with Mr. Logan and we have it here on the show, it's better. It's more appropriate. And I can lash out as much as I would like.
Get a little back and forth going on this.
Yeah, a little bit. So here we go. Boom. So how I think is the best way to approach this is literally just go through the movie, go through from beginning to end, hit those talking points. What do we like? What do we did? What we didn't, and just kind of run with it from there. Sound good?
I'm down. That sounds great.
All right, brother. But first of all, how was your holiday, man?
Oh man, it was great. I actually got engaged on Christmas Day, so I am happy. Sorry to spring that on you.
Okay.
Yeah. So I had a great holiday. It was pretty great. Not gonna lie.
Wow, son, bitch. Thanks for telling me that. But
I didn't know you were gonna ask that.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you. It was nice. I feel like I don't know how yours went up there, but Texas, bunch of crazy people. So we've been open, doing whatever. So I had family. We had a pretty much a normal Christmas. How stupid that might sound. But we actually did get tested and stuff. Our whole families were like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And we're like, "We're just trying to be as good as we possibly can." But yeah, so I had a pretty damn good Christmas. I'm not gonna lie, and I got a lot of clothes and a lot of money, which is all I asked for. So I didn't get any big toys or anything, but I'm pretty happy with my haul.
Yeah, save that for the honeymoon. Right. Okay.
more like a new monitor and new webcam. That's more what I'm going for at the moment.
Got you. But wow, well, shit. Okay, well, you guys heard it here first. Yeah. All right, me too. But
yeah. So, well, how was your Christmas? I'm interested to know what a New York City type of Christmas was this year.
Well, it wasn't full of engagement, I can tell you that. Yeah. But it was good. It was chill. Me and my friends got together, and then we just had a little friendly Christmas, I guess you can say. But it was fun.
Like a Friendsgiving, but a Christmas.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a term for that, right?
Yeah.
But no, we drank, we ate, got fat, and watched Wonder Woman.
Oh, so you watched it with friends?
Yes.
Oh, okay. That's gonna add to some. Okay, I gotcha.
That was very greatly annoying.
Yeah.
To do because one, I'm with a bunch of gays, so trying to watch something in peace and silence is not going to happen. So I'm like, fuck. Okay, got it. People are drunk. That's not going to happen. And damn near all of them are black. So I'm fucked on all aspects of just scenarios that just require too much talking.
A lot of mouths moving.
Right, a lot of mouths moving. So it was. So eventually, it all settled down, and I could watch the full movie. I saw it twice now, so I was able to recollect myself on a second in peace and quiet and collect. But yeah, I felt a lot of things watching it that first time. I was like, oh shit.
So let me ask you this. Obviously, you know, the people that you're watching with, if you're anything like me with when it comes to the Friends, you're the only one that's as into it as, you know, you're the biggest into things. And so, but were other friends that were paying attention, did they have a better response than you?
Here's the thing. And well, it's also frustrating. My friend, whose house it was doing all this, is the biggest Wonder Woman fan ever in life.
So they're down for anything.
And like he was centered around this, like, oh, Wonder Woman party. Oh, let's go watch the show beforehand. Let's like the whole nine. We got there. I was like, if you don't shut up. It was but I love him, man. It was just, you know, we was all drinking, we had a good time.
Sure.
You know, I was like, we should have known better that this wasn't gonna go as easy with all of us together, literally on Christmas. Yeah. It wasn't gonna be like that.
Tough.
So right, so we all just had fun, enjoyed and stuff like that. But of course, me being the one I am, through all that, I'm just like, and I'm like zoned in the whole time.
Yeah.
And my friend's like, yo, John's getting aggravated. We got to, all right, no talking.
Can we throw into the bucket of another vote as to why the theatrical experience is so important? Because the at-home experience, while good intentions are there, this is what you have to deal with. Whether you've got kids, whether you've got an annoying sister, mom, dad, friends, you know, that it's a thing that you have to, just for me, it's like when, you know, now it's the heat, but like when the AC turns on in my house, it fucks everything up. Cause, you know, I've got my sound going and all of a sudden I got this, my AC is right there next to the living room where I'm watching this stuff. So like, I want everything perfect, and the home experience is not that way. And, you know, whereas you're sitting in the living room, you've got phones, you've got talking, you've got food, drinks, people moving, you know. So
too much going on.
Yeah. So I apologize that was your first experience, because I will admit that there might, like, after seeing what people are saying, because I think I might have had a better experience with Wonder Woman than you did. And from what people are saying, you know, I feel that way, but I had the theatrical experience. So I didn't have anybody talking. I had IMAX. I had all this. So I was pretty happy for a lot of this movie. At least, you know, I enjoyed myself. So I'm interested to hear your points of, you know, once we start going through this thing and what you liked, disliked, and all the above.
So before we get into it, obviously without giving your detail and things like that, overall, you're on the side of positive for this film.
I mean, it's slightly, but yeah, I mean, I would give it, like, out of 100, I'd probably give it like a 70. You know, it passed, but you know, I did enjoy myself. I'm somebody, I don't know if you're the same way, but I could actually watch, you know, Diana Prince and Steve Trevor just go out on a date, and like their chemistry is like, I don't think Gal Gadot's that great of an actress, but her and Chris Pine have incredible chemistry as these characters. And so I actually, like, a lot of people are like, it's boring as hell. She's not even Wonder Woman for a lot of the movie. And I'm like, I didn't even notice that. I was like, I didn't even notice that because I was having fun watching them, you know, be happy. And like, it was funny. Like, I liked the idea of the fish out of the water, but backwards from the first film. You know, now he's the fish out of water. And so I liked that. Rarely do I not like that, I'll be honest, in a movie. You know, like Cap in the first Avengers is kind of that, and it's always funny. And you know, I've seen that in other movies, but overall, yes, I will say, like I said in last week's episode, third act falls off for me pretty bad in terms of the enjoyment factor, but overall, I did have fun.
All right, so I'm sitting on the fence. I'm humping this one. Okay. I'm right smack dab in the middle. I don't hate this film by any means, nor is it just fucking amazing, great. Oh my god!
Right.
But I say let's just get into it, and we'll break down why, and then we'll compare our shit.
I'm down.
All right, but before we get into that, thank you guys so much for, you know, watching this video and joining us. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, share, hit that thumbs up.
Yeah, please.
And hit that notification bell to be reminded whenever we come up with the next episode, which is every Wednesday.
Yes, sir.
We got.
Yeah.
So it's pretty simple. Like I say, it just requires a finger. Like I said, you've done worse with one. So Wonder Woman, 1984.
Yes.
So let's get this bitch from the beginning. This movie starts out fucking amazing.
Okay.
That I will say. That whole Themyscira was like Krypton to me in Man of Steel. It was phenomenal. The whole Amazon games and Diana being a little badass kid with all these grown ass Amazons. Like, let me show you how that's done. The score by Hans Zimmer.
Sure.
Oh, more on that later. So it was amazing. I loved it. It was a beautiful scenery. I know that was filmed in IMAX, so fuck you. I'm sure that looked just gorgeous.
As always.
So yeah, I just loved it, and I loved the message that obviously carried throughout, the majority of the film, with truth. But I did have a question, but we'll get to that later. How did you feel about the opening, sequence?
Yeah, overall, I mean, I thought it was done well, but I was somebody that I don't know why we need this flashback. Being in the second film, it's not the origin anymore. The whole point of the first movie was that she left Themyscira. I don't really need to go back. And I'll be honest and say you're the first person I've heard that actually got something out of that scene that, in terms of a emotion or a through line throughout the rest of the movie.
Really?
Yeah, everyone else, including me, talks about how that is never called back to whatsoever, because what it shows is how you shouldn't, cut corners, and you shouldn't, cheat to get ahead, and that's never brought up again in the movie, unless you want to say that is what the stone is. But Diana never has to go through, like, Diana learned that once and she's good, because so the scene is fun. I mean, I'll also admit that the kid version of her is nowhere near as fun as the, Gal Gadot's version of her. But I definitely will say that I think you enjoyed it more than me, because I'm sitting there watching this little girl somehow kick everybody's ass, and I'm like, literally, like, there was one point that I was like, okay, at least I can be okay with this, and it was when they started jumping on the pylons, and like they were trying to run, and it's just 1 foot each, and like young Diana lost her ass, like lost the lead big time on that, because the other full grown women have longer legs, and I was like, oh, thank God. I was like, okay, at least they're not making it to where she's just lightning fast compared to them. Like, I was like, okay, this is somewhat believable. I'm in. But she was kicking everybody's ass until she, got cocky and then still decided to cheat. And then she got, shown up, and then they never brought that back. So I'm surprised that you saw, like, truth. I guess I could see that. But I would have to be told that to, like, actually, because I don't see truth necessarily being shown in that first, it's more of a, hey, you can't cheat to win, can't cut corners kind of a message there for me. But I'm glad that you saw different, because I don't think the rest of the movie will bode well for you.
All right. So, sir, let me tell you, you're wrong. All right, you and everybody else, y'all wrong. Let me tell you.
Okay, please.
Let me get my Stephen A. on right now, son. All right, you're
all
wrong.
Right.
Your movie card needs to be one box. So there was two purposes to that opening scene. One was the story of truth, and the other was to set up fucking Astoria, whatever the fuck, Queens, whatever the hell her name is, Linda Carter, down the road.
That was actually the only reason for that scene.
So,
yeah,
you're ready, son. Okay. Truth. A hero is not born out of lies. Therefore, neither is anybody. You cannot withhold your truth if you're born throughout a lie, or if you're going through that. That is something that's consistently through this movie, and even repeated consistently, especially at the end to kind of do the wrap over.
Yeah.
And that plays into the sense of, yeah, of course, don't cut corners to a small degree, which that does touch back into the stone.
Yeah.
That is something that also something Diana deals with, something that Maxwell Lord deals with. So, and they want to achieve what is best for them in their mind or what they feel is right, while either A, lying about who you are, or cutting corners to get there, as you said.
Sure.
And that's the lesson that Diana kind of instills back into Maxwell. It's like, a hero is not born through lies. What you're doing now and what you're trying to do for your son, it's a lie. Like, this is why you're getting smacked in the mouth for all of this, and you're risking so much. You're not going to achieve what you're truly meant to by bullshitting. Yeah. That's the same thing she did with Steve. Steve was basically a lie. He was not there. But yet, woman, you are trying to be a hero and trying to be, who you're destined to be, while holding on to something that's literally fucking killing you and preventing you from doing that. You're trying to cut the corner. Like, you're trying to bullshit. So that's what I'm saying, that the hero is not born through lies is the main focus and streamline of the entire film. And that's why that was necessary. And that's why Patty fought so hard for that, because the studio was like, fucking get rid of that shit. She was like, no, yeah, we definitely can't. Yeah. And that's why it was so important. And that was the message. And to set up Lindegaard's ass. Sure.
I will say they could have told it better in that sense then. They could have actually brought up the same wording, or something in terms of, because she's just twice, like, you cheated, Diana. That's what I remember, is Jenny Forrest Gump saying, you cheated.
Yeah, that was the last line she said before she left, before her mom came.
And so it's like, I think that they could have done a better job of that, because I don't see necessarily Steve Trevor bringing him back doesn't fit with that scene. Like, it's not a callback to that. It's not necessarily cutting corners. That's what's funny, is like her wish is actually a pretty okay one compared to everyone else. And so it was just something like, that was kind of the point to me that I thought was, I didn't even make that bad of a wish, but I need to be the first one to revoke it, or this will never end.
Right. Because she's holding on. That was the thing,
Sure, but I think they could have done it better for sure. But that's just me, because it was a very long scene. It was it was the child version. And I will say it was mostly just to, show that armor and say, like, this is why we do it. And I was like, this is so weird. Like, that wasn't in the first movie. Like, that's giant statue. But it's fine. This movie does other things that kind of thing messes with my head, but we'll get into that later on for sure.
Yes, yeah. So it's definitely there to set up, well, I guess, those three things, because the armor, but in turn, it's Astopia or Astoria, whatever the hell the name is.
Right.
So we have that. Then we, speed up to present day. Diana's basically living in the shadows. She's a damn hermit. She keeps to herself. She doesn't interact with anyone. She's still doing her archaeology. She's taking down petty criminals. She's covering her tracks, no matter where she's at. Cameras, everything. Even though this bitch been in the limelight for I don't know how many years, people know she's there, but sure.
Yeah.
So of course we get the mall scene, just to, like, I guess, personify that whole thing, the whole setup. Because after she's kicking all these dudes' ass and flying everywhere, she's taking out the cameras, doesn't want to be seen, and she's basically living as this, not a recluse, but yeah, she's just sticking to the shadows, which I have my own little personal issues with. And then when it comes to Steve, the whole tie-in, that'll come in later to when he actually gets here. But sure, that happens. We meet the character of Barbara Minerva, as well as Max Lord. So Diana's her recluse. Barbara is basically invisible to everyone. Desperate for attention, to be seen. As well as Max.
Yep.
He's nobody. He's trying to be somebody. He's constantly being stepped on. He's putting on a whole facade, trying to impress this illegitimate ass son, because it don't look like him. I don't know whose kid that is. But
I don't know why people that's one thing I've been seeing online that annoys the shit out of me. Because it's quite like, you don't see the mother of this child
Right.
and the mother of the child is probably Asian.
Probably, but I
And
guess it's just like for stimulation. Like I need to see that.
no, you don't.
But they look nothing alike. I'm like, I'm so confused.
Well, no, because I could have an adopted black son that I adopted when he was born, and I'm going to
Say he's
feel the
adopted.
exact same way.
Tell us.
Why? Why? But if he's not adopted, he's my son. I mean, it's still,
I know it's just weird.
It's
maybe
not
because I
weird at
just didn't
all.
sell. Maybe just because the kid didn't sell me on his acting either. I'm like, you're very bland. I'm not feeling you.
Well, that's the problem with any child actor. You gotta get lucky on casting a good one of those.
Yeah, that's true. But anyway, so the whole setup happens. What do you talk to me through there? What are you thinking at this point? Where are you at?
The mall scene I thought was really fun. It was very, Donner Superman, it was really just lighthearted. Let's have fun. When it comes to Diana wanting to stay in the shadows, it's kind of funny because it's nice to try to continue to have like secret identities for me. And so, like Clark has glasses, shouldn't help, but it does. Diana does not. She has nothing that covers her face. So it's like, hey,
headband.
If I don't take these cameras out, people are going to look at it and go, doesn't she work at the, what's your like, they're going to be like, hey, I know her. I've seen her a million times. She's that drop dead 6-foot woman that's so gorgeous. It's like, oh my God. So yeah, I can kind of see why she's like, hey, let me just take these out so people aren't swarming me. Because guys already are, and you kind of see that, in the movie. She's like, no thanks. Like to basically make Kristen Wiig, who's very pretty by the way, but they're like, like try to make her ugly in this.
Man, what?
She's uglier when she's got the fur jacket than at the beginning with like the frazzled hair. She looks good in the 80s.
I found her hot in either.
No. I saw somebody say that her cheetah outfit looked like she got it from Ross, and I about shit my pants. I was laughing so hard because it does look like she got it from like Marshalls or Ross. But no, so that opening mall scene I thought was really fun and showing off. It was funny. We really didn't see the Lasso of Truth do any like making people tell the truth here, but we saw a lot of cool Lasso stuff that we haven't seen in previous iterations. So like, it was just cool to see what she's up to, how she's just absolutely working people, and like that adorable little black girl that she has to like slide into the bear. I'm like, okay,
I call her little granny. She looks like a little old woman.
She does, yeah, she does. But I'm sitting there going, like, what's so funny to me is I look at that and go, like, that little girl's mom would be beating her ass if like you're going to leave me and walk towards something like, oh no, like she wouldn't.
Yeah, she did that shit herself. She wasn't lost.
Yeah.
She said, "Whoa, if you go get your black ass."
That's the thing, is that's what the mom would be saying. She'd be
right.
The mom would catch her before the bear and just start beating the shit out of her ass.
Yeah.
But no, I did enjoy that scene. And then obviously when it comes to, Kristen Wiig's introduction, it's very cliche. It's we've seen it a million times in superhero movies. You've got Catwoman, you've got Electro, the Riddler with Jim Carrey, all of them have done this. And, I actually was like, I can accept this because everybody's like, that's so 80s. Like, why are y'all still doing this? I'm like, this movie's supposed to be from the 80s. Like, it's in the 80s. So I was like, I see, like, I'm okay with the cheese. I'm okay with the cliches because that's what they're going for. A lot of cheese. Just blocks of cheese just getting passed around in this.
Great block, everything.
Yeah. And then Max Lord is, he's an interesting character at the beginning, and you're trying to figure out what's going to happen here. And, it was, he's a good, I liked his like narcissism of like, hey, you want to know me.
Right.
Like, and I dug that because it's like, I fucking hate this guy, but I can see why so many people are drawn to him because that's how the world works. And it's like, those are the people I can't stand. And that's why it sucks even more because like they're the ones that I'm just watching, get rich. And they're usually con artists, which spoiler alert.
It worked.
But did you enjoy? I enjoyed the mall scene more than the Themyscira scene, to be honest, just character wise. But what did you think?
I didn't. I thought the mall scene was fun, but it was fun for me the second time once I took all my issues out of shit with it, I was like, okay, I can now have fun. To me, it was cheesy, but it was just in a sense of like the mechanics seemed very off to me, like the way she was moving and with the lasso and all, like shit was just poorly timed. It looked where I was like, okay, this looks very weird.
I caught those kind of things a lot in this movie. The stunts.
Yeah, a hell of a lot. So I just like, I'm like, okay, but I can appreciate it for what they're trying to do in the message and heroism and all that good shit. So that was fun. I did enjoy that. Then we see that that Diana hasn't really tried looking for love or trying to move on from Steve in 70 fucking years, but we see that she's at the dinner table, like, oh, you using this? No, it's just me. I'm like, okay, fine. She looks up in the plane, reminds her of Steve again. And this is what I'm just like, girl, I get it. This was the first love you had. This was 70 fucking years ago. If you do not get you some dick in between then and now, like something, like it's ridiculous. So I'm just like,
you got to remember their conversation on the boat in the first movie. It's not about the dick. Because she read the books. She knows that she could please herself. So it's not about that.
You can't see anybody else in 70 years.
But that's the thing is she's like
something.
Well, no, that's the thing. She doesn't care about the looks. She cares about the person. And that goes to when they bring.
You don't know if you ignore them.
Well, no, that's the truth, obviously. But that's most people alive right now. They won't go out there and continue to try to move on. But there was something else that I'll bring up when he shows up that people were talking about. And I kind of enjoyed that because it's like she loved him, the person, Steve Trevor, not the looks, not, everything that is Chris Pine and his just beautiful ass self. She loved everything else, and so I liked that she's like, I'm stuck on that because he was the one that brought her out of the seclusion that she's now like, she didn't know she was secluded before. And now she is secluded, and she's like, who's the one person that took me out of this force-fielded island? And like, he's gone because of me. I killed him.
Yeah, cool. Thanks. I love you. Mission. But moving on, pimp. Sorry.
Sure. Okay.
70 fucking years. Hey, he's handsome. But sorry, that's just my own personal grip. Not an issue with the movie at all. So yeah. Then we're introduced to Barbara. I loved, like I said, we've seen the cliche introduction. But because Kristen Wiig, because she's hot, because she's cute, because she's bubbly, she knows how to work that, be fun. It works for her. And of course, we get introduced to the Stone, which that fucking MacGyver of just all things. But we'll get to that later. Introduced to the Stone, and we come to find out that Max Lord is also looking for it. He's been looking for it for a while. He finds out exactly where it is. He comes to the place, scoping it out, and he, does the whole famous life is good, but it can be better. Which I fucking love that shit. Every time we did it, I was dying.
That was pretty good.
Yeah, so it's like, I love those characters because each one of them have a common through line. They're all the same in many ways.
Sure.
Which I loved. I loved Pedro's performance. Like I said, he was very eccentric, very, narcissistic, a lot of physical acting, which I always commend when people do that and can pull it off without looking stupid, unintentionally. Because there was times in this movie where he did look cheesy, but of course that's the point, what they're going for. I'm like, got it, I'm here for it. So they find the stone, they read it, and what is it? That within hand is granted one wish or something like that.
Yeah, if you touch it, whatever.
Yeah, so Diana makes her wish in her head. She closes her eyes and her fucking hair starts blowing like a goddamn.
I have a problem with that, first of all. Like, you don't even have to say it. I have a problem with that, but
I definitely understand that, and I see that because Barbara did the same shit. But it was like, I don't think I don't know, because the stone literally says those who hold it can make a wish. They didn't say you had to like say it out loud. They didn't say you had to do anything like that. That should have been explained.
My real problem is they're the only two characters in the whole movie that don't have to say it. Right. Everyone else, hey, what do you want? The wish would be immediately granted when he's holding the people's hand going, what do you want? It would just happen. because they're thinking it.
They don't know that. He's the literal thing. They don't have the wording, you know?
So it's just because I guess you're telling me Diana was holding it and was like, God, I wish Steve Trevor was here. Like, I feel like she's like, damn, I'd wish for Steve Trevor to come back, you know, kind of thing. Like, I don't know. But
because you know that if anybody like today gets something that says, oh, if you hold this, you get a wish, secretly they'll probably be like, yeah, okay, get that curiosity just for the sake of being human beings and shit. We're naturally curious like that. So I understand that. I do agree that should have been explained and like, okay, what exactly the set rules are with this.
Yeah.
But I literally just took it. Whoever's holding the bitch can make a wish, no matter in your head, aloud, whatever. Because anybody else throughout the rest of the movie didn't have that inscription to be like, oh, hold it. This motherfucker just asked you to just say it. What do you wish for? Tell me. And I was like, all right, cool.
But that's my thing though, is he's telling the people in the TV, and it's like there's 10 people around each other watching the TV, and they're going, their wishes should just be coming true, because he's like, tell me your wish. And they're like, damn, like I wish fucking homeboy over here would be dead, and you know, like it would just happen. Like they don't have to say. So I wish that we had seen that. Like it would have been funny to see like a wife with like a shitty husband, and like, you know, something hilarious.
We did.
And well, like there was one where it's like, I wish you would drop dead, and it's like,
the wife husband.
I don't know. I didn't think they really knew each other that well, but it would have just been, they could have done some things where it's like all of a sudden people just start like, you know, just disappearing. You know, they could have done that, like, or people dying. Like, I wish I was never born. People that are feeling that way, and then boom, they're done. Like that could have happened, and they could have shown the terror of what people are just doing to themselves. You know, they could have, but
they could have.
Instead,
that's a Wonder Woman.
Yeah. Instead they're putting letting somebody drop dead from a heart attack on screen right after somebody said it is pretty rough. It's more rough than just turning into dust or whatever. But you know, they can just put farms in New York City.
Right. All right, so we have that. We have our introductions.
Yeah.
He finds out all the stones there. He gets happy. He goes back to his office. It's completely just deserted. No motherfuckers there. It's just abandoned. He comes there. We find out he has a son. And then he's run into an investor. He's like, listen, you're a fraud. There's no fucking oil. Stop lying to your kid. You're a loser. Blah, 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 blah. Tries to convince his son he's not a loser. So clearly we see already his character through line is trying to just prove himself to his son. Win over his son's love, his pride, like all of that.
Yeah.
So like, all right, cool, bet. The next day, shit starts happening. All right. Well, I lied. They go to the party. There. That's where he goes to steal the stone, go lay some, you know, dick down on Barbara.
Yeah.
Like, all right,
and she's looking good now because she had her wish.
Right. She has her wish. Exactly.
Now she can walk in heels. Yeah.
Right. She decides, fuck a skirt. I don't need it. I'm hot now. Like everything. She's coming into her own. Because her wish was to be like Diana.
Yeah.
So thank you for reminding me about that little crucial plot point. So they're at the party. Maxwell, you know, fucking woos her. But while Diana's at this party, dubbing every man known to existence, this strange dude in a tracksuit comes up and is like, Diana, I wish we had more time. And she's about to rip this man's head off. You don't know me. Don't say that. Da, 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 da. And come to find out, she eventually sees Steve when he gives her the watch. And then everything's just like, oh, okay, cool. So we got an introduction to Steve. Mr. Trevor.
Yeah.
I have an issue with this.
Please.
I have a great issue because it's also when it comes to the fucking MacGyver-y, no explanation limits of a fucking magical rock. So a magical rock can make a whole wall appear and cows and all type of crazy shit.
I'm with you on
Steve has to be in a body of another fucking man.
Yep.
To just, I'm like, huh?
Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense.
Why do we need any of that? Just bring Steve back.
Yeah.
And I was on Jody's Corner yesterday. We was all talking about this, and a guy named this creator named Lewis mentioned, oh, it's dead matter, or it's because of Rocco, whatever, manifests matter out of nowhere, and because maybe Steve is dead matter, that he really tried. Because Steve was dead, that's dead matter, so he can't manifest him, so he had to bring him back as somebody living. I was like, bruh, you just did a whole fucking Space Jam reach for that shit.
Yeah.
And it's like, you tried. I can accept that if they explain that.
Yeah.
But they didn't.
Sure.
So that annoyed the fuck out of me. I'm like, and that made a lot of people upset online, apparently, calling out rape and all other type of shit.
Okay. Interesting.
But yeah, so that happened. Talk to me.
So that point is 100% like, because at first I was like, okay, I like this. Like, things have to come from other things, whatever. And then that wall comes up later. I'm like, wait, what?
Right.
But what I've seen some people say is which this is a true criticism, but they're like, so what the fuck happened to that guy? Like, did he not what if he had a girlfriend? What if he had a job? What if like he lost his job in these last few days because he just didn't show the fuck up? Like,
right.
And granted, he could probably show up and be like, hey, you remember all that crazy shit that went down? I was part of that in a weird way and I didn't have a choice, whatever. But still, it was funny, some people saying that. But the ones that got me, I can't remember who said it. Oh, it was Chris Stuckman, who is literally my favorite movie reviewer on YouTube, has been since I was a kid. It seems like, and he dogged this movie. It was fucking hilarious. Let me tell you, if you haven't watched it.
I haven't watched it yet.
It's pretty, I haven't seen him do that. And I like, literally, I'm sitting there going, damn, you're going way too hard on this. Like, it's not that bad, but he hated it. And he was talking about how, like, Chris Pine is in this movie only for the audience. And he was like, Diana and everyone else sees that guy, and she, like, they're sleeping together and whatever, and she just sees him. And I was like, in my head, that's not the case. In my head, everyone, like, Kristen Wiig's character sees that other guy, but Diana sees Chris Pine's face.
Yeah, she literally says it.
She like, when she realizes that's Steve, it goes back to the idea of why she hasn't been looking for other guys. It's because the looks don't matter. It's the person. And so as soon as she knows, holy shit, that is Steve Trevor, that's the Steve Trevor I know, she sees him. It could have been disgusting as it is, it could have been a 12-year
magic doing that.
Well, sure, but like, it could have been a 12-year-old girl. And like, Diana would see that. I know I said as bad as it sounds. Okay, how about an 88-year-old man? So I actually kind of liked that, because it was like, wow, like, she loves him so much that it doesn't matter what he looks like. She sees him. And so I actually kind of dug that.
That's not true, though.
But what do you mean?
That's not true. She's seeing him because of the stone. It's not because of her own will to be like, oh, I love you, I see you. It's because of the stone. Well, it's like, here you go, motherfucker, you wish for it.
No, I don't think that's the case, because she would have seen him originally. She didn't see him originally. She saw the other guy.
Because it was infused to the watch. She didn't have the watch yet. The minute he gave her the watch, that's when he came up and was like, oh, Steve. Because the magic went through the watch. That's why it was starting to shake when it went through him, because it was his possession. So when she gave it to him, or he gave it to her, that's when he saw her.
I don't see it that way. I just see it as it used the watch, because he didn't even give her the same watch. He gave her a different watch. He gave her an 80s watch and did the same maneuver. Said, remember this? But it was an 80s watch. It wasn't the watch that's in her apartment.
Sorry. So if that's the case, then I'm just saying to tie it to that, just the gesture of it, then maybe. Because why show us a watch shaking and moving of a possession of some kind of sort?
Well, because
that was to him.
I think it's because that the poor guy was in his apartment and was getting magicked right off screen, and it was shaking the place. But no, I don't think it had anything to do with being infused anything. It was just, she saw that guy and is like, she's used to going, fuck off, random guy. And so she's not looking at him. She's not doing this. And he has to show her, hey, you remember feeling this? Like, because first she says something and she's like, how the fuck do you know that, you piece of whatever. Like, she was so mad. And then he's like, no. And then he feels that, like, it's that, it's love. It was the one time that they got the chance to actually, like, they loved each other and they had that moment.
Right. So
And
that's
he
something, it's
reenacted it.
familiarity.
Well, no, but that's when she realized, oh shit, this is him. And
Right.
so now she sees him. That's where I say, like, it's an 88-year-old man. To her, she sees him. I don't think it has anything to do with the magic necessarily. I think it's
No, you're putting too much hokiness on the love. Like, the whole point of the magic stone is to give you what you want. So
sure.
even if it's a 88-year-old man, that's his whole body, but the stone or the magic is going to manifest him to her. It's not like her just both feel like, oh, I love you. Now you look like Steve. That's not how it's going to work, because then it defeats the purpose of giving her a wish. Because it's just like, oh.
But then that also defeats
that
comes back to the plot hole of it should have just created Steve, not
absolutely
body.
Right.
So that's why I see it a different way, I guess, because that's fine. But no, I see it as, I think her wish was, I wish Steve was alive, not I wish Steve was brought back to me. I think it's, I wish Steve was here, was her wish. And this is where I wish that this is where they could have done some shit, some like Aladdin shit that's like, no, you said this, like, you got to be specific, and so, because you can get a fucked up wish if you say something in a weird way. And so if they want, like, I wish Steve was here, and it's like, oh, you didn't wish for his body to be here, so now he's in this guy. Like, they could have explained it that way. But no, I see it as, Steve was brought back to life by taking over this guy. And then I think a massive reason of this whole movie is love. Just like the first movie, she's only loved one thing in her entire life, up to this point. And so, yeah, I do think that is a massive part of it, is, she doesn't give a crap about this guy until she realizes that it's the love of her life. And now that's what she sees, just in her own head, just subconsciously. I don't think that's necessarily the magic involved. I think it's just, that's what she would see if, it happened. That's a personal opinion. I mean,
yeah, but I said I'll leave that to interpretation, because it's like,
and what I will say right now
is
that is a negative. That the fact that we have to try to, I literally was just having a conversation. I'm not going to bring it up right now, but a friend of mine was like, hey, I respect your opinion. Can you come comment on this? And he was talking about why he loves BVS. And I was like, hey man, I don't know if you want me to, because I see the complete opposite side of what you're saying. And he was like, no, come comment that. And so I dogged his ass. And, right there, he wanted it in public Twitter. And so I dogged him. And the whole point was, he's taking what Zack Snyder gave him and then giving his own opinion on the interpretation of what Zack was thinking, but didn't actually put on screen. And I was like, no, you got to do what's on screen. So I will say that the fact that we're having to talk about this is a massive negative, because it should explain the things.
Right.
When it's something like this, it's such a MacGyver, it's such a, easily written, it's the laziest writing tactic there is. Like, this thing can do whatever. And it's like, that's why I like something like Aladdin, where it's like, this thing can do whatever, but lay rules out, and so that's where the fun comes from. People not realizing that they're wasting their one wish and like, oh crap, I just messed that up. And he's like, screw you, like they could have done that. But instead, he didn't even let them realize that they had a wish to give.
Right.
So there are things I will definitely say that's a negative, and I interpreted it in a way that made me like it a little bit more than you, and that's just a little bit more. It wasn't like it saved the whole movie, but
right.
We can please continue.
Yes. So Maxwell gets it. Steve is here. Cool. Yep. Maxwell literally wishes to become the stone. So he becomes a stone. He's now a walking manifestation of this fucking stone.
Which I wasn't expecting, by the way. I don't know if you were.
I wasn't either at all, but I was like, all right, cool. Yeah. Rock with it. So now he's just going fucking ham and cheese. He's going crazy. all these wishes, boom, boom, boom. And he takes what he wants in return, because when you grant a wish, it takes something from you.
Yeah.
But he's literally saying, bitch, I'm taking this, I'm taking that. Versus the stone itself just surprising you, like, boom, pow, surprise, motherfucker. Like, nope. He's like, I'm gonna tell you. So he's going crazy. He's fucking up the world, making his own negotiations, going for the world's oil. The president's making dumbass fucking decisions of getting the world more nukes. Let's do war, defend ourselves, every fucking thing.
Yeah.
So he's the stone. All right. Now we have our adventure. So Diana gets wind of it, trying to figure out why Steve is what brought him back. They all point towards the stone. Meanwhile, Miss Minerva is coming into her own. She's realizing, shit, I got powers. I'm strong. She's at the gym, lifting shit up, crazy with ease.
Funny ass scene, by the way. It was cheesy as hell, but it was pretty funny to watch her do that.
It was.
With those the biggest, swollest motherfuckers I've ever seen in the background of her, just sitting there going, like, are you kidding me? Yeah.
Right. Chilling.
Yeah.
But earlier on in the movie, she was being, heckled by the most aggressive fucking drunk.
Oh my God.
Person, whatever you want to call him, ever.
Yeah.
In life. I'm like, damn, bro, like creeps and pervs aren't even that fucking forward and aggressive. Like, you're wild. But Diana saves her, of course, and she pushed him the fuck back. That's what inspired her to make the wish to be like her, strong, beautiful, all that good shit.
Yeah.
So when she's coming to, she sees this fucker again. He's doing the same shit and tries to continue. It's like, oh, where were we? What? You just got your ass kicked. You want to try to fucking continue?
Yeah.
So this time he definitely gets his ass kicked. And I loved this scene. I thought it was really cool. I loved her transition in this before we got to the end, of which we'll talk about. I loved her transition. I loved her descent. Because everyone's noticing her. She's all over the place. She's great. Yeah. She's abusing his power. She's finding it now. Like, I can kick your ass now. She's no longer defenseless. So she beat the dog shit out of this man. And she sees her old little homeless buddy that she feeds all the time. She's like, go fuck yourself, pal. Mind your business.
Yeah.
I was like, damn. I'm like, all right, cool. So Diana calls Barbara. Is like, listen, we need to find out what's going on with the stone. Track it for me. Find out where it came from. The whole nine. Cool. So boom, cut there. What do you think from the moment of, and here we're integrating Steve into the world, by the way, Diana. Sure. So yes, explain. Talk about
APO. Just to start, in terms of integrating Steve, I thought it was, I had a blast with him. I am apparently a massive sucker for fish out of water. It's, I don't know why, but I love it. Like, even the scene when it was in the trailers where it's like, that's a trash can, not art.
Oh, yeah.
And like, I thought that was funny as hell. So I do love that. Him changing clothes and he's like, parachute pants, everybody parachute. And, all those things. I was like, okay, I dig this. And, they ended up calling it back to the actual guy, like, put on his ugly ass outfit and was like, I like this. She was like, hey, I love that. But so I had fun with that. But what's funny though is when I first watched it, I didn't realize the whole, like, the stone takes something. They hadn't revealed that yet. And so, Diana's getting her powers taken, and so then Barbara's over here. She's a badass, and I didn't know she had something taken. And so she was she was a really nice, awesome person before, which is actually a little bit different than a lot of times what we see this in other movies, is somebody that's a piece of shit, and they're a piece of shit because they've been, heckled and, beat up and things like that. So they're like, oh, I hate everybody, whatever. And then they get the powers, and now they're like, hey, fuck you. And this was a little different. This is a good person.
She lost her humanity. Yeah.
And it's like, oh yeah, she lost being a nice person. And I didn't realize that. So this scene where she absolutely destroys this asshole, I was like, this is so stupid. I was like, why is she such, she's being so mean. And like, and then I was like, oh, here comes the guy that's going to make her like,
but he also tried to like, fucking take her booty and shit.
He's trying to take this girl home and rape her. And so it is it's
justified ass whooping, nice or not.
Correct. And I mean, Diana did it. So I got that, but like, she was being ruthless. Like, she could have just picked the guy up and thrown him, or punted him over the street. I mean, she could have done a lot of things. And so
do this all day.
Yeah. And so that scene was happening. I was like, God, she's being so mean. And then here comes the homeless guy that she's friends with, and I was like, oh, he's gonna like say, "What are you doing?" And she's gonna kind of snap out of it because I didn't realize that something was taken. I thought that she was just getting revenge, and that
Right.
was the point. But she's like, "Mind your business, like you hobo or something." And he was like, "Oh, geez," and when I actually was watching the movie and I still didn't realize that something was taken. I was like, "This is stupid." I was like, they literally changed her character completely." I was like, "What is happening?" And later on, you start to realize it's because basically getting these powers turned her into a supervillain. It said, "Hey, you were a nice person, but you got you got bullied. Now we're gonna flip that. You're now a piece of shit, but you got powers." And
Right.
so I was like, "Oh, okay, I get this." Um, but at first, I really was like, I hated it, and it got explained a little bit later on, and I was like, "Okay, I get what they're doing now."
Right.
So I ended up enjoying it, but in the moment, I really despised that scene.
Yeah, I loved that scene, and I did love the fish out of water things. With Steve, it was fun really seeing how happy and giddy he was interacting with this whole new world, and because Chris Pine's just fucking great. Like no
Yeah,
matter,
of
like
course.
the man's just great.
Yeah.
So I really loved seeing that scene. When Max went to Egypt, try to take the oil from the world's leading authority in it. He basically got fucked. He was like, homie, I sold that shit fucking,
Yeah.
you're behind, bro. But he's like, fine, I'll take your army. And he fucking took his whole security team or whatnot. So this is where we get the wall,
Yeah.
And of course, everyone's trying to say he was a fucking representation of Trump. I'm like, y'all are making this too fucking.
What I will admit there, I haven't heard the Trump thing. That's kind of funny, but I did hear
Really?
some people. Yeah, but I did hear some people that are Egyptian and from that area of the world, and they're like, "This is such a racist scene." Like they were talking about how like this is such not a representation, like just what they like showing the normal people in that area,
Mhm.
not even just the guy that he tried to fuck over and the guy that put the wall up. But they were talking about how that's such a terrible representation of that area of the world, and they were like, this is going to be mostly towards white Americans, and they're like, it's such you know a negative thing to give that because like I don't know what people are like over there, and
Right.
now I think they're all like that, and that's me being a ignorant white person. So I saw some people that were pretty upset about that. I haven't heard the Trump thing though. I don't think that makes a ton of
Yeah,
sense.
they said he's
Uh,
basically a whole allegory for Trump. I was like, y'all are
uh,
just ridiculous, but whatever.
I mean, I would call Max Lord Trump before.
Yeah, that's what they're talking about.
Oh,
Like
okay.
that, and then all him, like
Oh no,
himself.
I would just I would see it. This will come back around, but Max Lord is 50% of every person you've ever met in your entire life. They're a piece of shit. Most
Yeah,
people are, and that's kind of the point. That's why you get lucky, and some people get powers and they're good, and you get then you get super villains because some people get powers and they're bad.
that is true.
But we'll move on to that because it's really the main reason why the third act doesn't work for me. But we'll get there later on.
Oh yes, we will.
Yes.
So yeah, so he's in Egypt, and along the way, Diana and Steve find out this motherfucker's in Egypt. We got to go get him. So we get this. I did not expect this motherfucker at all. Like we're about to get into. She takes him to the airbase. He's all happy, which I loved. I love seeing him happy in his element again, and him damn near emotional. Like I love that scene. I'm like, cool.
And seeing what aviation was like now, and like, yeah, I thought it was cool.
Really amazing. These motherfuckers take off. Of course, everyone's alerted, like, hey, we have, a plane on the strip, yada, 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 yada. Boom, they start coming after him. Out of nowhere, she's like, wait, I know a trick I did with something my father taught us or said to hide the mascara, and I always wondered how he did it. I tried to do it with a cup, but I lost it. So all of a sudden, she starts making this fucking field. I'm like, are we about to get the invisible jet?
Yeah.
Like, because when we saw the jet in the trailer, I was like, oh, is this going to be a setup for future down the road of like,
Correct.
Jet? Like, yada, yada, yada.
I got something to say about that in a little bit. Go ahead.
So I was like, okay, cool. Then she puts her hand on the jet. That whole bitch goes invisible.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit. they just did it.
Yeah.
I thought that scene was amazing. That was so dope. And they went into, you know, the firework field and then went up into the clouds and all that. Like, I thought that was a really great scene. Score, the overall look of it was really dope. I loved that.
Yeah. Okay. So for me, I will admit, I absolutely adored it. Also, favorite line in the whole movie is, "Well, shit, Diana." Like,
Yeah,
I mean, easily the best line in the movie. The delivery is
like, gonna shoot at us?
Yeah.
Shit, Diana.
Like, literally, it was absolutely
that was
perfect.
great. Yeah.
But so what's funny? So leading up to that, they go into the hangar, and they won't show this giant plane, which I'm thinking is the plane that like has the record for the fastest in a plane. I can't remember what it is, but it's like the Thunderbird or something. It's from back then or from even before then. And I was like, and like Diana is walking and she touches that as she's walking by. And I was like, oh shit, this is her hangar. That's her plane. And that's a seed of like later down the line, you'll see that jet. And she'll
were these hers? Because they were in the
Smithsonian. No. So this is what I was thinking in the moment.
Okay.
Was I was like, oh, that giant ass plane, you know, because it's a jet, but it's massive. And I was like, that's going to be the invisible jet. Awesome. I didn't know that they were going to go get in a fighter jet that's, you know, much smaller, because her jet is usually pretty big. It's more like a small plane.
Well, it's not. Her thing is more like a jet like that. Her flying, it's just her.
But like it's long. Like I feel like there's a back seat to it, you know, like there's in the other iterations or whatever. And I thought that it made sense if they were going to ground it to make it that plane that was the fastest ever, and you know, whatever. And I was like, okay, cool, that's what they're going to do. And my thought was they could put people in the back of it, and instead they go get in a legit fighter jet. And I've heard the complaint, it is true, they take that jet from fucking DC to Egypt on one tank of gas, which is not possible whatsoever. But I will admit the whole like, oh, this invisible thing. I was like, they should have teased this. This is another
came out
thing.
of left fucking field. Yeah.
This is another thing that they could have teased in the Themyscira scene. If you're gonna do this in this movie, have her make something turn invisible. You know, like out of anger, out of something, you know, whether it's like to make her win or attempt to win, she makes a fucking horse turn invisible, and they never found that shit. You know,
that's a theme of this film too. Like a lot of important shit they just rush right into. Like there's no build up.
And so, you know, and she looked like a fucking idiot doing this. Looked like she was making dough, and yeah, and I was like, okay, but the actual scene and what it made me feel like, it was fucking hilarious. Yeah. Radar, all that, and then she actually makes it go invisible, and the fireworks. I was like, man, like it's so good. And it's another area where like the love aspect comes into it, because all of a sudden it's just them. They're invisible to everyone else. And they're in this beautiful, insane environment that nobody can be in.
And bonding over flight.
And yeah, and so I was like, okay, I loved it. And I mean, seeing like all the colors and the score was amazing. And I was like, yeah, I dig this a lot. And easily probably my favorite scene, you know, of the movie, even though it does have you know, a little bit of a cheesy part where it's like, hey, let's just give her the ability to make things invisible out of nowhere.
That was stupid.
But yeah, I liked the scene.
So, yeah, it was a lot more inspirational than one of the scenes coming up. Yes. But yeah, so there, you land in Egypt. Boom, come with us, motherfucker. Max has the whole, you know, army and security team, you know, transferring him back. So they coincidentally cross paths, and then the action scene ensues, which I liked. The action scene. I thought was really cool. It's when you start actually seeing that, hey, she's kind of losing her shit. Yeah. Which, coming back to look at it, to seeing the movie again, she started paling out even way before that. So I'm like, huh, that's interesting. I never caught that before. Like around the eye, started getting a lot more kind of like drainy and all that. Never noticed that till the second time around, knowing after everything. So I'm like, cool. So she's fighting all this whole army in a badass scene, music's blaring, things like that. She finds Max, like, give me the damn stone. What did you do? I need it. Yada yada yada. And he basically says, I am the stone and shit like that.
You're
So
looking
she's
at
shocked. Right. So she's shocked. All of a sudden, these kids are running in the damn street. And then she goes to perform a hero move, swoops the kids up, loses her grip because she's losing her powers, falls, kills the kids.
I know.
And
Pyle drives them into the street.
Right. I'm like, these kids are dead. Like, she fell on them and then rolled. Like, these kids are dead. So I was like, all right, fine. Max gets away. She calls Barbara, says, hi, find out for me. Barbara's like, I did some research. There's this expert on all of this shit. I'm going to go see him in the morning. Cool. We'll meet you there. Boom. They go, they meet the man. They find out, it's based, all the way in Mayan times. And it was forged and created by this god. And then she explains, like, Max has become this. It grants wishes. How? It's just fucking power, all that good shit. And basically, had to find out we have to stop him in order to fix all of the shit he's doing. Of course, in Barbara's mind, it's like, wait, that means my power is going to start going away. I can't have this shit. I won't do it. Yada, yada, yada. She disappears.
Yeah.
And then we start going into the other act. But lead from there, sir.
So I will first of all say that the pothead guy that just happens to kind of
so fucking stupid.
I was like, what in the world? Like, of course they go to this expert, and this is I hate to do it, but this is the difference between this is the same scene as in Winter Soldier when they go find Arnim Zola and he's all the screens. He's the Arnim Zola from the comics.
Right.
That scene literally tells you, like, hey, like, I'm going to tell you everything that's going on. I'm going to catch you up. Here's how it works. Here's all that stuff. And I'm telling you this because I'm stalling, because I'm trying to get you killed. And so they do it in a way, it's like, hey, we need a lot of exposition here.
There you go.
And so I know I had to get it out. And, but let's tell it in a way to where we know that this is, we need this for the movie to work. So we're going to do it in a way to where you have to kind of live with it. And like, so Arnim Zola kills himself in the whole thing and all that. This is the opposite of that. This is where, like, we need an expert. Let's get some random guy that just enjoys this. His family used to do this, and he just keeps these old books around, and he likes to tell people at yoga on Sundays. And I was like, what on earth is happening? Because literally you have two women that are badasses, geniuses, basically, and they both work at the Smithsonian. They should be able to find this out. They're on their own. Like, Diana is a Greek god. Like, she should know a way to figure this stuff out. And so I thought that they could have done a better scene than that, to be perfectly honest. But, but the action scene before that was pretty interesting because, it's when you start to realize, like, oh, like, why is this taking, like, where's her powers at? Like, I remember I was so clueless in the moment. And that's something that I will admit, between watching something at home and watching something in a theater, I'm much more clueless in a theater. Like, I'm overwhelmed with everything going on. So I'm just like, hey, whatever's happening, I'm down for a little bit. And so I was still so lost as to what, like, stuff being taken. But you're completely right. You can see in her face that she's flushed and, like,
right. But even with the lock before all
yeah.
that, when she couldn't get the shit off, I was like, okay, well, yeah.
Right.
Because I just thought it was as a result of Barbara saying, I want to be like her, that she just took her shit and was like, hey, go. So now hers.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm just like, okay, as she gets stronger, fucking Wonder Woman gets weaker. Right.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, bet. But sorry, continue.
But the action scene as a whole, it's pretty awesome. It's pretty fun.
Oh, yeah.
And it would have been a lot more cool if she had all of her powers and just watched her absolutely destroy them. But that's not the story they were telling. So, her getting hit by bullets and things like that. Like, for me, it was funny because I was somebody that was like, oh, so she was bulletproof? Like, when she starts getting hit, because I'm like, the whole, what's the name of it? No Man's Land scene in the first one. Like she's got the shield and like the absolutely iconic stuff where she's just sitting there just holding it and just getting bombarded, and it's like awesome, and she's hitting the mortars out of the way. And I'm like, she could have just been getting hit. Like, what's the whole point of her hitting them with her armbands and things? I'm like, I thought that she would have, if she got shot, she'd get shot anyway. But this kind of says otherwise, or at least the healing factor is vastly, because that's as soon as she revokes her wish, she heals as she's running. And I was like, okay, maybe that's what it is. She just rapidly heals and she'll be okay. But the scene as a whole, I mean, when she's, slinging these trucks around, and even, Chris Pine, Steve Trevor's like doing some shit. And I'm like, you trying to get yourself killed again? Like, he was doing some crazy fast.
There's a lot of situations, bro.
And, yeah, and I mean, he was going at it, and so I thought that was kind of funny. But overall, I mean, the scene is definitely fun and exciting, especially with how little Wonder Woman we get in the movie. Like that's the big one in the middle, and I would definitely admit that it fully delivers in that sense until she absolutely splatters these kids on the street, and she should just be rolling in their guts, basically.
She should. I'm like, these kids are dead, but I guess sure. Yay. Right.
I mean, it was literally Gwen and Amazing Spider-Man 2. Like they should have just at least just hit their heads and been dead. Like
that's severe trauma. Severe. But so that happens, and during all this also we're seeing the toll that the stone has taken on Max. Like this motherfucker is just straight disintegrating. It's like you're breaking down. He's ignoring his son. He just doesn't give a shit anymore, and that's also the main thing, narrative-wise, that is taken away from him, is the thing he loves the most, which is his fucking son. The reason you're doing all this. So yeah, wants shit to do with him. He wants to go meet with the president to have full control over just, whatever the fuck his idea was, for ultimate power and meetings and stuff like that. He gets to him. The president, like a jackass, wishes for more fucking nukes against the Russians and everybody else. Instead of making peace, he says, I want more weapons to bomb these motherfuckers. I'm like, what are you? I'm like, all right, sure, whatever. Comes to find out there's a machine, a satellite around the world that can simultaneously just, hack into everyone's fucking TVs and satellites and talk to everyone at once, and through little particles in the air, you can, figuratively speaking, touch everyone. So I'm like, okay, sure, fine. So then he walks out. Wonder Woman and Steve are there. She starts whooping up on the guards, and Steve's about to go out there and start hacking motherfuckers with swords. But it's like, listen, it's not their fault. They're not in control, so they just beat wholesale ass. And then Cheetah comes and beats the brakes off of Wonder Woman.
Yeah,
I absolutely loved this scene. This fight between them two.
Okay,
I loved Kristen Wiig in it because she looked so goddamn hot, just whooping ass and doing stuff. I was like, oh my god. This I loved, and then they have the confrontation at the end of just like, listen, like I've been a fucking loser this whole time. Like people like you understand what it is. Like it's my turn now to do this. Like I can't let you hurt him. I'm not giving this back. And Dan is basically like, bro, like what did you lose? Like you used to be such a good person and this and that. And she was like, fuck you. What did you lose? And then she was like, oh, all right.
Yeah.
I like the scene because to me, Gal acted much better in this film than the first.
100%.
Her emotions, I was like, holy shit. Like, especially in that scene, I was like, whoa, I felt it registering in her. Like, I saw that. Like, I felt that when Barbara said, well, what did you risk and things like that? I felt that in her face. I was like, wow, good job, Gal. Like,
yeah.
All right, cool. So what did you think about that? Lay it on.
The scene did not work for me very well. I'll be honest. A lot of it has to do with the direction. It's like this is the scene that I start to notice like the initial like hit that Kristen Wiig gives to Gal Gadot. Like the editing is just not there. Like the point is she basically does what Wonder Woman does to that weird guy at the beginning and just kind of bully bumps him and he flies. But like she does it and it cuts and it's just like Kristen Wiig like doing this thing. It's really poorly. Like I'm like, oh god. And then Kristen Wiig's just acting in that. She seemed like not as bad, I guess I could say, but Hela in Ragnarok, Kate Blanchett frustrates me a lot because she's going over the top and it's not working. And Kristen Wiig is trying to do that and just trying to be like a badass. And I'm like, it just didn't work for me. And then there was a lot of like, at one point she takes off running and does this like CGI jump and like swing on the pillar. And the CG is not great. And I was like, oh God. But Gal Gadot's acting helps a ton in that. And just in that scene in general where Kristen Wiig's trying to kill people and Gal's just saving them, like, oh, got to catch this guy with a chair, block the bullet here, whatever it may be. And like, I liked that. It was Wonder Woman in a situation where she can't pay attention to the girl that's actually a threat because that threat is hurting other people. And I'm Wonder Woman as a person. She's still that person. And so that kind of saves it for me. But I will admit that Cheetah, the further it gets along, the further I wish she was in the movie.
So overall, you got a different vibe for that, that first fight than I did. Like I said, I just loved it. It was just fun. Yes, there was cut shit on it, the way they edited it up, and clearly it's not Kristen Wiig running around, which also frustrated me. But from what was happening, I loved it, and I'll take it over what the fuck we get eventually. So
yeah, I will admit, yeah, that's a true statement.
Yes. So cool. White House happens. She gets her ass kicked. She leaves. The whole world's literally going to shit right now. Because Max is just drunk with power. The world, everything he ever wanted in life, he has. He's a somebody. He's big. He's a leading resourceful. Everything. He's essentially a fucking god at this point without being one.
Yeah.
So Wonder Woman and Steve are running through the streets of DC. They see everything in havoc. This is my fucking issue, but for the sake, I'll continue it. We lose Steve here. She learns how to fly. Max goes to the site where you can touch people through satellites and starts hacking that bitch and giving everybody a wish through the TV feeds all at once. Diana comes. We meet fucking Cheetah because she wished it somehow from the plane, all the way down to when Max started broadcasting his message by telling everyone, give me your this, that, and give her your anger and your fucking prowess. And then in the plane, she says, I want to be an apex predator. I want to be anybody else. Somehow all of that equals to a fucking cat. But sure, whatever. And then she comes face to face with Max Lord and then saves the day. That's going to be my quick little wrap up in a nutshell. So these are all the main issues just flourish. So that's why I'm like, let's just jump right into this bitch. First of all,
I agree.
This whole Steve shit was the most rushed thing ever in life. And it pissed me off. I'm just like, wait, that's it? He's gone? How did we get here so fast? There was no buildup. There was no nothing. Yeah. Just, Diana, you have to do this. It's not goodbye. I'm already gone. Do it. I'll never love anybody else. Da-da-da. I love the acting through this scene.
Yeah.
Wholeheartedly, especially with Gal. That surprised the fuck out of me again. I was like, okay, cool. But it was so rushed. I'm like, you just threw away Steve. And this is why the issues for me, why I necessarily don't feel he was even really necessary for this film.
Sure.
I don't think so. If you do, you can from a very small sample size. It could have been something to help kickstart that and whatever. I didn't feel he was necessary because he was just here, boom, gone, like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, talk about that scene before we go any further.
Yeah, no, I liked that scene. It is a thing where I liked how he was the one that, like, he was kind of, I want to say he was kind of trying to say it a little bit. He like, you know what you have to do. And she's like, no, right. I'm not doing it. We're not talking about that right now. And but he was the one that was always like, hey, look, I shouldn't be here. Obviously, this is a problem. This is causing other problems. You know what you need to do. I didn't like, if there's something that I really didn't like, just to start here, it's the idea of how easy it is to give up your wish and like reverse it. And they use, I think they use the word revoke your wish. Renounce your wish. Yeah. And it's like, okay, good. Like we can just renounce everything. But it's once again, you have to say it. You can't think it. You know, she's thinking it over and over again, but she says it. And, you know, it was, I didn't think it was massively rushed, because what I more so thought was like, oh, this is the start of the third act. And it is a thing where it's like, this is where the movie starts to break down for me. And I could see years from now, like we heard with the first Wonder Woman, this is where they might say, you know, Patty might come out and say, I never actually had Cheetah as Cheetah in this movie. The studio forced it, because all the rules start getting broken, in the sense of, like, Max Lord is like, hey, you saved my life. I'm feeling pretty good right now. You want another wish? And it's like, wait, she gets 2 wishes? Right. It's like, if she gets 2, why the fuck are you forcing everybody to do your wishes for you?
Right.
You're the stone. If you can choose how many wishes people get, why are you just sit there and make your wishes? So like, this is where it starts to go down, but we can continue on into this true third act here with the fights and stuff.
Yes. So that happened. This was the most frustrating part of the movie for me, because a scene that has such importance, that has such significance, is supposed to be this big inspirational and powerful moment. It's her first flight.
Yeah.
This pissed me off beyond belief, because you had an amazing opportunity, and this is why I say tie it back in the beginning with the score. You have Hans fucking Zimmer at your disposal, and you choose to rehash some shit that's been fucking used and abused in 50,000 other films. You want to use fucking Adiago D minor by John Murphy to signify what's happening right now, instead of Hans Zimmer making you this legendary fucking score for me to feel something. I felt nothing but anger that entire time. Pissed me off, because not only is she learning how to fly, this is her way to remember Steve, because that's her connection through flight. She says it through the wind. She's doing all of that he's saying.
Yeah.
So you have tons of messages here that's supposed to make me feel something, and you dumbed it down and made it stupid by rehashing some shit that just takes me out the moment. Minute she started flying and that started happening, I immediately got angry. I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah. Well, okay. Yeah. So let me just say for this, because you're correct. The flying is probably one of the biggest scenes we've had. It should have been for Wonder Woman thus far, live action.
That should have been her Man of Steel moment for flight.
Correct. Should have been. And the part for me that I hate that this is the case, but this is the part for me where it's like, why wasn't she flying in the movies where, you know, it's 30 years ahead of this, you know? And it's like, I hate that. That's where my head went. I'm not as big of a score person as you. And I also get people have been talking about it now, where it's like, DCU really doesn't care about continuity anymore, and they're able to make more standalone films, and that's great. But for me, it's like, you're using these same characters, they're connected, this is the same universe, it's not a standalone. The continuity needs to be there. But I do understand, like, if you're going back in time and making these movies, you have to do exciting things. But, you know, the fact that she didn't fly in BVS, and she didn't fly in Justice League, and even in the first movie, she has a moment where everybody was like, "Oh, was she kind of flying there?"
Yeah,
when she just when she like jumps straight up and like can kind of float there for a second. And everybody's like, "Oh shit, can she fly?" Right. And they're like, "No, she needs to catch the wind." And it's like, well, shit, I hope that it's, you know, inclement weather when she needs to fly, because if it's just dead wind, she's got nothing. Right. Her hair is apparently, you know, Batman's glider, you know, cape in Dark Knight. Yeah, so I don't know. That for me,
she did throw it up though with that. I will say at the last one, she did the whole spin and woo. I was like, oh, no, it's fucking Mjolnir now.
It was cool. It was cool, but like, I should have seen that.
No, you're right. You should have.
In other, I mean, especially Justice League could have vastly used that. Can you imagine her taking out parademons in the air?
I mean, shit, they'll probably be in there now.
I mean, yeah, they might be reshooting that as we speak. Right. But I do admit, though, you're making a great point about the score. This is a moment. This is the portals of this film. You know, that
about that.
Well, but like it's the biggest song in the movie.
I know, yeah.
This is your time, because that was the thing too, is I didn't know that it was Hans Zimmer until the beginning of the movie that he was scoring this movie. Because I remember him saying, Justice League was my last movie, and then he came back for Dark Phoenix, and I was like
5 times.
I know, I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? And now he's back for this, and I was like, oh sweet, we're about to get a great score here. And you are making a great point in the sense of this was your time. Hans Zimmer should have been literally, this film has been done for a year and you haven't been able to release it. You should have had Hans Zimmer in there working on a perfect original piece for this moment. Like, yeah, it was done. You got an extra year to work on it. Don't touch a fucking thing but this. And it could have changed so much. Because that's one thing is, I use Portals as an example because it's the biggest one of recent memory. But I remember I walked out of Endgame and how insane it was, and I was like, I gotta hear that when they start coming out of the portals. And of course, I go look at the thing. And it's called Portals. I know exactly what it is. Like, let's go. And they missed out on that, having Hans Zimmer. It makes me wonder if he, if this, yeah, like did he even originally score anything for this movie, or was it all stuff from previous, things that they just kind of fleshed out more or whatever? But they missed out on that, and I'm glad that you pointed that out for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So then she lands on the island, and then we get Cheetah's ass. So here's my thing.
Yeah,
I really liked the look of Cheetah when she was real. I'm like, okay, cool. I can fuck with this. I got it. When it's Kristen Wiig really there with the makeup, and then I was like, oh, cool. I dig it. Only problem is I couldn't fucking see her for half the shit because they put her on a whole gray cast where the bitch is gray and it's her flying and spinning around. I'm like, I don't know where she is. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah,
everything is just, the whole fight is here in your face and shit's just flying.
They're hiding the CG,
hiding everything.
Yeah,
this is the wackest fight ever. You have two superpower badass ancient fucking rivals. Like, this is Wonder Woman's biggest damn number one, and it's just married to just like I'm literally picking up my cat and she's just fucking like meow, 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 for 20 minutes. That's what it was.
Wonder Woman literally kicks her fucking ass, by the way. I mean, it's not even really that big of a competition. We haven't even talked about how she gets, she goes and gets the armor.
Well, yeah, sorry. She goes against the armor worn by Linda Carter and shit like that. And she flies in on it.
Like how dumb, like literally the armor, and therefore a lot of the first Themyscira scene is literally just to sell toys, just for posters. Let's put her in some golden armor shit. And Cheetah destroys that, by the way, in about 2 seconds. The wings.
Claws that shit right out.
And then Wonder Woman's like, oh, wait, maybe I should just try to fight her. And then absolutely, literally grabs her by the back of the neck.
She doesn't fight. Nobody throws a punch in this fucking thing.
It's nothing. Yeah, it's nothing. It was it really was. This is where I mean, I said it last week and as non-spoilerish as possible, but the third act is such a disappointment because that fight scene is so it's heartless. I don't care. What I'm seeing on screen is garbage. And it's the scene that I'm like, man, they should have just figured out a way to take that character out. Like, if this is what they wrote, they should have done something else. Because it really was bad. And I saw Patty had to explain, because we haven't really talked about it, but she kills her. Basically, from what we understand, she electrocutes her.
Just knocked her ass out. She didn't kill her.
But she electrocutes her, and somebody was like, why didn't Wonder Woman get electrocuted? And it's because she's the daughter of Zeus.
I thought that the first time.
Cheetah's wish is to be like Diana.
Right. Which also threw me off. And I meant because I brought this yesterday to him, like, so this bitch is Diana. Why is she affected by this? But I don't know.
Because that was the thing, was this fight should have been Ares versus Diana again. It should have been that god tier, because it's literally, I want to be like Diana versus Diana. They are on the same level, if not Cheetah higher, because she had a second wish, that Apex Predator thing. Also, how absolutely stupid.
I don't know what point a fucking cat comes into play.
Right,
at
like
all.
she deals with rocks, and now she wants to be an apex predator. I'm like, you should have had her.
But a cheetah isn't even a fucking apex predator. Like, there's no description of like detailing on why you're a cat at all, besides fan service. I'm like,
so
and they showed a cat one time before in the foreground. I'm like, that's it.
It really fell apart right there. And if people love this scene, I love it. I'm so glad. This is where I envy you.
Right.
But
I wish I could.
Yeah, I felt nothing. I literally saw nothing.
Nope. But gold. I saw nothing but gold flying around in a fucking lasso. That's it.
It's so funny too, because the best shot we see of the CGI version of Cheetah is the shot that we saw in the trailer where she lands in that, like, hero or villain stance, kind of like that Spider-Man stance real quick, and it cut in the trailer. And I remember in my video, I was like, that didn't look great, but they've got time to fix it. It was pretty motiony, maybe it's blurry. It was that exact same shot. It looked terrible. It was terrible.
I think when we first saw her on the ledge, that was the best, because even that was CGI. I'm like,
no, yeah,
she's just walking. You made that CGI, like that was the best shot to me. I was like, all right, cool. The eyes were glowing and shit. I'm like, oh, that's pretty dope. But I'm like, really? Yeah, it was hard. It crushed my heart. I was so looking forward to that, but I was like, this is dumb.
Yeah.
So she shocks the shit out of Cheetah, knocks her out, leaves, faces Maxwell. He's talking to everybody. He's getting strong as hell. He's getting his health back. Everyone's wishing. People are dropping dead and all this crazy shit. Another point where immediately I was annoyed, and still am, but I understand why they used it. So he's walking in the middle of this fucking thing. He's dead center in the machine talking to people. She's trying to lasso him like 50 times. Does not work at all. Cool. Keep that in mind. So she's pointless. She's like just giving up. I'm like, okay, she's sitting on the wall. She's crying. He's like, I can bring him back and you can have all this power. You just have to want it and all type of shit. And then she starts breaking down. Another great acted scene by Gal. I will say, I was like, wow, okay, like, cause they have the camera dead in her face. Like, I see her booger still. And she is like acting her ass off. I love it. She's saying there's nothing I want more, but you have to, this isn't who you truly are. Like, you can't. And again, they resort back to the, no heroes born through lies thing again. And then she was just like, this is you have to renounce. You have to do that. He's like, why would I do that? And she says, I'm not talking to you. And then looks dead in the camera. I'm talking to them. Somehow this bitch has a lasso on him. Don't know how. After failing millions and millions of times, she has it on him. Fine.
Sure.
So now she's talking to the world. Everyone's listening. And then I'm like, oh, no, they didn't. Then Beautiful Lies starts fucking rumbling in. I'm like, oh my God, does this movie have its own fucking soundtrack? Yeah. Like, I was like, oh my God, it's so frustrating. Why are you using Bruce Wayne shit? But I understand, again, the context of truth and lie is literally the main emphasis of the story. So to use Beautiful Lie, because it ties in perfectly what's happening. Sure, I get it. Narratively, you got it. But make your own fucking thing.
Yeah.
So he starts seeing his son. Finally, the madness has calmed down. The lasso's on him, showing the truth, what he really loves, what he's really about, his reasoning. He sees his son. He's in danger, about to get blown the hell up because fucking Russians are launching nukes at us like crazy. So I'm like, okay, fine. And then to wrap it up short, he fucking renounces his wish. Then everybody in the fucking world renounces their wish. Because the whole world is one big pot of kumbaya, happiness, and it's all of that. I respect the message they're trying to do because it's very Wonder Woman, it's very hope, all of that she stands for. That is the most unrealistic shit I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
You can be talking to me in my fucking head. Bitch, I'm not renouncing shit.
Yeah.
I have all of this I am good.
Yeah, exactly.
That will never happen.
Exactly. So this is what derailed it for me. Yeah. And it is one of those things where somebody can argue and say the whole movie has been cheesy. The whole movie has been, science fiction, all that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes, but it's still a, character driven study on people.
Yeah.
You know, that is what
humanity.
And so this is where, if you go back to last week's episode, I said, I understand the message that they were trying to give us.
Right.
I just think that they could have done it in a different way.
Yeah.
Where if like they should have just said, Max Lord renounces his wish. Everyone that's wished off of him as the stone, their wishes go away. I'm good.
You have to set that up.
Right. And instead, she's able to talk everyone into renouncing their wish, which is the most it is less realistic than a human being being able to fly with a lasso.
Yeah.
Period.
Completely.
And this is what I was talking about. 50% of people that you ever met are fully Max Lord, and the other 50% would never renounce their wish. Like me, like you who's watching. If you wish for something and you actually got exactly what you wanted, you're not giving that up in that moment, period. And it would destroy the earth. And guess what? A 45-second speech isn't going to talk me out of that. You got to give me more than that.
Yeah.
So this was the moment I was like, oh my God, this is so bad. He renounces his wish and then is like, I need the presidential helicopter. And they're like, yes, sir. And it's like, the fuck? He's no longer this person. Like,
right.
He shouldn't have this ability to just say, like, give me that shit. And they take him, and his son's camping in the woods. And his son's the only one that's in the woods, just like, yay. And he's like, oh, I'm so glad I landed in this spot.
Well, and, that's I mean, there's a reason for that. The lasso did show him where his son was, so he knew where to go. Because I thought the same thing too. I was like, where the fuck? But I was like, oh, he knows where he was.
Did it show him GPS coordinates? Because the woods look like woods to me. That's also very true. But when you put that, yeah, that's true. But so I get it, and then but then it was also a thing. I hate to say it, I care about the kid a little bit, but Max Lord can fuck off. Like this beautiful scene with this kid, and I'm like,
that's the only part I like through all this.
I hated it. I didn't care at all. Really? I really didn't care. It was a thing where, like, the fact, like, does he have no repercussions here? I mean, it should be showing him getting arrested and telling his son, like, hey, I'm sorry and I love you.
Well, nobody knows.
What do you mean nobody knows? He's all over the TV.
Yeah, but they don't know, hey, this is a whole fucking Mind Stone thing and everything's gone. Like, they don't know he committed crimes. He didn't commit anything.
What has Diana been saying for 45 seconds? Like,
he was speaking to the people, like, don't, like, this is what you want. Like, I understand, like, these are things you want in life, but we can't. Like, you have to dig deep. Like, this is all personal to them. They didn't say, this motherfucker committed this.
I don't know.
Like, there's no crimes committed to the whereabouts of outside of him and Diana. So it's just, he's fine.
To that point, how about just the simple fact of, like, one of the actual president's, like, advisors that wasn't watching the TV, didn't make a wish, wasn't under this guy's spell as from the stone, going like, hey, we might need to get rid of this guy. Like, he's up to something, like, why are we following everything that this guy says? Like, there's a moment where it's like, somebody needs to step up here, but it's fine. It's the movie.
But they can't though. Remember, because whenever he takes some shit from somebody, that's one thing I will say is pretty good with continuity, I guess. When he takes something from a position of power, somebody, he takes what comes with that in them. That's who it's like, oh, so now if he's a person, everyone surrounded in that area has something to do with that. Now abides or under his thing. That's why even Diana, when the fight, even down a little to the security guards who aren't in the fucking room when he's doing all this shit, it's like, don't kill them, don't do that, because it's not their fault. They don't have a choice or whatever. So that's one thing I will say within continuity is like, okay, just
after renouncing his wish.
They're not gonna remember that. That's why when the president went under, he was like, everyone's always like,
no, they remember. Shit. No, they don't. It didn't wipe their memories. That's the whole point. That's so crazy about this movie. No one's memories get wiped here.
I don't know. It looked pretty lost when they snapped out of it to me.
Well, he's sitting there going, "What did I just do?" Like, in terms of, like, I can't believe that I just made those terrible decisions. That was one of the things. Chris Stuckman goes the fuck off on this. He was like, so you're telling me that 20 years ago we all did this and nobody's talking about it? And I'm like, yes, like that's what's happening in this world. But he was like, it doesn't wipe anybody's memories. Everybody remembers this.
Well, I guess we won't know.
Well, that's true, but it's because it becomes a point of you renounce your wish. Like Max remembers what all he just did. You know, Diana remembers Steve Trevor. All these people remember. So I mean, it's a continuity issue there if they say the president doesn't. But I do think they had such a much easier way to do this in the way of like talk Max out of it. Let that be the emotional moment, Diana. And then when he gives it up, you know, they would have needed to set it up before, but when you say that the entire world's population renounces their wish all within a span of 2 minutes, by the way, you know, nobody even thinks about it for longer than 2 minutes. They're all like, you know what? I think that lady's right, that I can't see. I'm just hearing her. Looking at this guy that's just floating. And you know, this is where the movie derailed massively for me. And I understand the message, but it did not work for me whatsoever. And I hate that. But that's why I honestly can say the first two-thirds of this movie is fun. There's problems throughout, but it's fun. I enjoy it. This third act, I really just get frustrated with, because just the simple fact of what I liked about Max Lord as a character is every city has a guy that would be this guy in a heartbeat, you know, trying to get ahead, con artist, you know, whatever. I know multiple of these guys. And so I liked like, oh, this is a study on humanity, like you said. And then you flip it and go like, oh, she can say some nice words and, you know, whatever. It's almost like they could have even said, she's got the lasso of truth on him. She can control what they do or something and make them renounce it would have been easier. But, you know, like use him as the stone and wish them to renounce their wishes or something could have been easier than that, and let her have a heroic moment. But instead, Lasso gets on there after the 5th try. This is why I have to renounce my criticism of the Mando episode. I guess it was 6, where he keeps trying to walk into the force field with Grogu and keeps getting blown back. I guess if he tried another time, the 5th time, he might have got in there, because because she tried multiple times to lasso him and couldn't get him, and then all of a sudden it's on there, and I'm like, okay, like just follow your own rules. Like I feel like that shouldn't be that hard.
And our camera's in her face the whole time. The bitch ain't moved, so I don't know how she's on there. Yeah. Oh my god, cool. So yeah, so all right, I'd say we pretty much spit and spat and chopped this bitch up.
Did you like the Linda Carter scene?
It was cute, not necessary to me.
I thought it was cute. That was the thing. I thought it was nice for the fans to go, okay, cool. Like, because obviously this is like Elseworlds type of thing. It's like that, you know, she was Wonder Woman here. She's a Themysciran here. That's this lady, and she's the baddest bitch there was. And she's out there, and we'll never see her again. It's not like she's in the 3rd movie doing some shit. No, I just thought it was kind of a nice, lighthearted. It brought back what the first two acts were for me. It was like, oh, this is a fun scene, and she's just a cool lady, and you know, cheesy, yes, but enjoyable.
Yeah, it was nice. But I was like, yeah, I was fine about it, but I understand it.
Sure.
So yeah, if you guys stuck around this long, 1, thank you.
1, 2, you definitely did not love that movie. you would have been screaming at us in the first.
Yeah.
Movie.
So it's
You must be feeling similar to us.
Probably. Hope. What if not? That's what the comment sections are there for. Exactly. Talk about it.
Exactly.
Again, if you stuck around this long, subscribe, guys. Greatly appreciated. But have at it in the comment section. Let us know what you thought about your gripes, your disagreements, your agreements, whatever it was. Let it all out. But I think we're about done here. About wrap it up. This is almost 2 hours. We need to work on that shit.
I know, man. Jesus. We did just go through a whole movie.
We did. We did, but we'll get there. The times will fluctuate, but we'll try not to make it so lengthy for you unless this is like a live or some shit.
Sure.
Where we have you guys with us coming soon. But yeah, man. So again, thank you guys for joining us on this latest episode of the Film Cave. Be sure to join us every Wednesday for the latest episodes where we literally just break everything down. And if you want to be notified when that happens, hit that notification bell. You guys know where it's at. Hit that subscribe button, share it with your friends, your mother, your grandmother, her dog. Share it to whoever. Because we're just getting started, guys. And like I said, it'd be great to have you guys along that journey with us. So stick and stay tuned. Man, it's been night.
And it's been Logan.
And as always, we'll see you on the next one. Until then, see you in the cave, man.
Later, guys.
Peace.